Hi guys, and welcome back to another session with moi. We are going through The Purpose-Driven Life by Rick Warren. We are on day 16. The title for today is What Matters Most. Now, we have started a section where we talked about, created for God's pleasure. This new section, created for God's family. And so we're going to talk about what is it that matters most when we're within this family unit that we talked about last week and how we get into it and all that. So let's just dive right in. So start with a question. If I were to ask you what matters most in Christianity, what would you say? Jesus, right? It's kind of like the Sunday school answer, Jesus. But in terms of like behavior and character traits and values, what would you say is the top, like the most important? I think most of our minds would go to love, right? Love, the L word. The Bible kind of love it goes beyond the world's kind of love where if you're not on my side, it's okay to show disinterest. It's okay to have certain people in our little book that don't deserve our attention, or even if they do something wrong to us, this satisfaction in revenge, right? Karma's a blank, you fill it in. That kind of love is okay because there's people who you love and then there's people who it's okay to hate. And the Bible, it goes beyond that, right? 1 Corinthians says, no matter what I say, what I believe, and what I do, I'm bankrupt without love. Now, we're all familiar with the verse, love is patient, love is kind. It's a really popular verse. It's said in like every wedding ceremony vow type thing. I actually have that verse on my wall along with other love verses. My sister decided to do a mural, so I have a really cool, I'll show it to you guys at the end, really cool mural on my wall. We hear the Bible talk about love and how we should love each other, and the whole world's okay with that, but with certain people, and it's more than just your inner circle of love. That it goes beyond that, right? So 2 John says it like this: love means living the way God commanded us to live. As you have heard from the beginning, his command is this: live a life of love. Now, we all agree with the live a life of love, but what about the part where it says love means living the way God commanded us to live? That kind of rubs some of us the wrong way. Why should I live the way you command, right? There's this surge of pride that comes up, right? Like, I know how to love, but the Bible says very clearly, God is love. And so we are to love God's way, not only because he invented love, but he is love's purest form. And so if you want true love, which I think all of us are seeking, it's more than just this fluffy, warm feeling, right? It goes deeper, and to learn that, you have to learn how to do that from the source. That's why God commands us to live a certain way. It's not this legalistic jargon that goes into this religiosity of living. It's the recipe to live a fulfilled life. Many times, living in God's love is not easy, because we humans, we mess up. We mess up all the time. We get on each other's nerves and just annoying each other. We step over boundaries. We talk out of turn. We say things we shouldn't or that we don't mean. But as a family unit, we are in charge of each other, right? That is loving. Just like brothers take care of brothers, just like parents take care of kids. Sometimes love for God means loving others enough to pull them out of their muddy pits of lies and misconduct. It isn't just to tolerate everything and smile. The world promotes this harmony of bad ideas, and we've seen how far bad ideas can take us, right? Rick Warren says, in heaven, we will enjoy God's family forever. But first, we have some tough work to do here on earth to prepare ourselves for an eternity of loving. God trains us by giving us family responsibilities. And the foremost of these is to practice loving each other. Now, I can throw at you verse after verse that talk about bearing each other, right? Kind of putting up with each other, forgiving each other, helping each other, healing each other even. But I can sum it up in what John says. It says, your strong love for each other will prove to the world that you are my disciples. We show the world that we are followers of Christ and the way that God intended us to love each other by the way we love each other, right? We need to show that, like, outwardly, not just, yeah, I love them, like, I never talk to them and I can care less what they're doing, but I love them. Like, that's not love. Love, you share it in how you correct each other, of how you even share ideas. I mean, this year, if Instagram has taught me anything, I have seen this bitterness and this one-sided, this shotgun blow your head off kind of, you know, they don't deserve my thoughts kind of posting. And we are a society that has forgotten how to love each other. And that's not good, right? The best way, the best use, I guess I can say, of your life is love. Love is not the good part of life. Love is the most important part of life. To kind of dote on this Instagram thing that I just kind of brought on, or Twitter, whatever platform. Don't believe everything you read. I mean, there's a difference between information and education, and most of the things out there is just information. If they're not out there to educate you, right? If they don't give you the what and the who and the why, what's their agenda behind it? You look at it as, I have been informed, I have new information, thank you, goodbye. If you're not going to do the work of educating yourself and really looking into the ideas and trends and, you know, the latest thing to do this week, don't proliferate, don't spread those ideas, because this is what's causing division. This misfire of half-baked ideas just because they have an emotional connection to it and they spread it. Think about it more of like, is this going to glorify God? Is this going to bring us together? Is this going to build each other up? That kind of thing. And that's why love goes into everything, whether it's one-to-one FaceTime or whether it's idea sharing on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook or wherever. Love goes into absolutely every aspect of your life. One thing I have learned is that people don't know how to think responsibly. They have this mob mentality. They don't know how to talk to each other. Learn how to talk to each other with love and with the agenda of loving, with the agenda of building each other up. And I'm repeating myself, but you get the idea, okay? It's important. So I'm going to run 3 points and then we'll be done. The first point here will be, number 1, life without love is really worthless. Paul says, no matter what I say, what I believe, and what I do, I am bankrupt without love. Like, he really meant, like, I'm nothing without love. Like, I can throw out degrees and I can throw out knowledge and, you know, connections and networking, but without love, all of that is meaningless. All the politics and all the policies in the world will not make up for a lack of love towards anyone, right? Matthew says, you must love the Lord your God with all your heart. We know this verse, right? This is the first and greatest commandment. A second is equally important. Love your neighbor as yourself. All of the other commandments and all the demands of the prophets are based on these 2 commandments. You can talk about God's commandments and what he wants us to do up the wazoo, but if love is not connected to all of them, they're just legalistic, religious mumbo jumbo. You need love connected to everything. In correction, like I said before, you need love. In communication, you need love. It isn't just my idea is right and you better listen or you're going to destroy yourself. It's if it's not born out of a place of love, it is worthless. It is meaningless. Rick Warren says, after learning to love God, worship, which we've talked about, learning to love others, is the second purpose of your life. Love God, love people, right? Relationships, we are learning, they're a really big deal. Learning how to talk with them, learning how to interact, learning how to love should be your priority. That's how we grow up. That's how we mature. It's being able to connect with other people in love, regardless of their stance or opinion or their values. Sometimes we love others, and especially those within the family of God. There has been so many fights within each other just because of viewpoints, because we don't consider the other person as a human being, but just somebody who thinks wrong and throw them out the window. It's not how it works. That's not how it should work. All right. All right. So that's point 1. Point 2 is love will last forever. 1 Corinthians says, these 3 things continue forever: faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love. Now remember, not the world's definition of love, God's definition of love, the true love. That's the one that will last forever. And how many times do we walk into a home and we see that posted on the wall? Faith, hope, and love. Like, it's so pretty, but what does it mean? In heaven, we're not going to be some angelic kind of beings that just float around on fluffy clouds. I think I've mentioned this before in one of our previous sessions. We're going to be glorified versions of ourselves. Like, we're going to recognize each other from here on earth. We're going to live together with those people forever. So if you never learn to really love others, to really connect with others, you didn't learn how to do life well. Like, you've missed the whole point of life, of being a human and living with other humans. And unfortunately, that bears heavy consequences. Check out what 1 John says. It says, "Beloved, let us love one another, for love is from God, and whoever loves has been born of God and knows God." Let me break this down. How do you get into the kingdom of heaven? You are born again, right? You're born into a new creature, and you now live the life that you were meant to live towards God and towards others. Now, this verse is saying whoever loves has been born of God and knows God. That means the opposite is true. If you do not love others, if you do not love, then you have not been born of God and you do not know God. Learning to love people, I can't stress this enough, is a really big deal. We're talking about the rebirth. We're talking about getting into the kingdom of heaven. We're talking about knowing God. If that's your purpose in life, to worship, to connect with God, then it's not a solo act, right? It's not like this one-man juggling show. It's you and people. You connect this way and you connect this way, and it's a package deal. So that's point 2. Point 3, we will be evaluated on our love. This point can get a little scary. We will be evaluated on our love. Oh, she doesn't matter. Who cares? Like, I'll never see her again. Do you know that? You know God's watching, right? You know this goes on your record. Like, it's not to scare you and say, oh, you're not going to make it to heaven because there's one mistake. That's not what I'm talking about. We get in with God by faith. It's grace that is given to us. But it is also important how we treat each other. We will be evaluated on our love for each other. Rick Warren says it like this: when you transfer into eternity, you will leave everything else behind. All you're taking with you is your character. How you're like on the inside. Not what you have, not how you dress, however stylish that may be. It's your character. It's what really lies in your heart. Galatians says the only thing that counts is faith expressing itself through love. If your character is unforgiving and resentful and defiant and detached, so it's that one-man show we talked about, you're not going to fit into heaven very well. So be careful, grow and learn. Don't waste your time on Netflix and your brain on pointless games. Learn and grow and study God so that you can become his true child, so that you can share what God is to you to the rest of the world that doesn't know him, right? A person that loves the right way. First John says, "My children, our love should not be just words and talk. It must be true love, which shows itself in action," right? It's not just, "I love you, I love you, I love you." It's really showing people that you love them. Rick Warren says, "Relationships take time and effort. And the best way to spell love is Time." That's right, I didn't spell love, I spelled time. He said, "The essence of love is not what we think or do or provide for others, but how much we give of ourselves." To love someone is more than just to say, "Oh yeah, I say happy birthday to them and I give them presents and, we hang out." It's more than just being around people or whatnot. It's sharing yourself to them. How many times have you run into a person who will tell you that they love you, and in certain ways they show you, but truly you don't know them? You know what I mean? Like, they don't share who they are with you. There's no true connection. You're friends and you're cool, but it's really superficial. That isn't love. That's superficial friendships and some really cool friendships, but it's not the depth and the intimacy that God created us to share with other human beings. Think about it like this. Romantically, right? A girl won't believe a guy loves her if he doesn't like spending time with her. I mean, he can remember all the anniversaries and birthdays, he can give her all kinds of gifts, but if he doesn't share his time, share himself with her, there's no true connection. And the same with a father-child relationship, right? The father can try to buy out the child's love, but if he's not there for his child, that child will not feel love from him, right? And that goes with any friendship. So the final question here, are your relationships a priority, or are they just something that you squeeze in between everything else that you're trying to get done? In your posting, in your sharing of ideas, in your texting or calling or hanging out or talking, are you sharing of yourself? Or are you just kind of wasting time? Are you using your time wisely? Or ultimately, are you forgetting how to love? Are you forgetting how to learn how to love? Which should be the biggest thing. I will close with this final quote by Rick Warren. It says, "The best use of life is love. The best expression of love is time. And the best time to love is now." That's what I got for you. I hope it was a blessing. Let's really love each other and connect with one another, grow within our family, grow with God, and hopefully make a difference in the world. All right, guys, I will see you guys next time. God bless.